All right, we're back again. We got another week of making things happen to this truck. It is January 28th. This week, what we're going to be doing is rocker panels. Let's hop into it. So I got these sitting here on this floor. They're ready to go. So first off, here's a recap of last week. Here's what I did. Did this area. That area did not have rust. Did this little area. That one. The doors are not bolted to the truck, so I just taped them so that way I knew not to open them. Did my fenders, they're put on there now. Added that little body line, got my lights put where I wanted them. Same thing on this side, minus the lights. Haven't got that far yet. That one was already patched from a while back. That one did not need patched. Then that one, and then this rust area on the fender. And then we did some other things up in here and finished up some loose ends on the front of the truck. So 3 of my doors are not bolted on, so I'm had to make sure. I came out here all excited one night and almost opened it, and it would have just fell on the floor and destroyed the corner of it. So if we get far enough this week, I drew up an idea for what I want my interior to look like. So we got these period correct circle vents. I ordered those from Summit. They ought to be in today or tomorrow, I think, maybe. And then this flat screen radio, ordered that from eBay. So that's going to come in. It bolts right into the 4th gen Dodge wiring harness, or wires into it rather. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, like I said before, put the circle vents there. And then basically, I made this really round here, but then I come up with a better idea. I think I'm going to take another dash that I have and basically take this body line and put it down on this side and the vent there. And it's going to be outside the vent, and then the radio. Same thing on that side, symmetry. And then I'll have to make a center console area. So yeah, this looks really good in the picture. We'll see if we can actually make it look that good. All right, as far as the rocker panels go, first thing I'm going to do, take my doors off, set them somewhere over there. I'm pulling the back seat out, pulling the front seat out, pulling up my carpet right on the edge. I got to replace this little kick panel area, which is just right up here inside the rocker. Because you can see that stupid looking patch that I did back before I knew what I was doing. So there was a hole there. That's got to get done. All of our rust is patched as of now. I got some minor knick-knack stuff to do. Well, I guess the rocker's not, that isn't patched yet, but it's going to be by the end of this video. And, honestly, by next week, I plan to start working on putting this in primer. And, I'll work my way around the truck from there. So I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, finally. We're getting there after like a year and 6 months of just absolutely balls to the wall work. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel here. But this has been drivable all summer. Put 7,500 miles on it over the summer. Real close to it, at least. And this summer, we're going to hook some trailers to it. This is going to tug a trailer around, and it's going to make me some dollars to help pay for how expensive it's been this entire time. All right, we got her all opened up. We got access down here now. You can see what I did. This was like midsummer 2023. Made all these little pieces, and they cover the wiring harness. So you can see there what needs repaired for sure. All that foam stuff had to scrape off here. Now we got a big mess. There's the other one. Lovely. All right, so this big hole is now exposed. I formed this thing without a brake because I did not have a brake back then. So I'm thinking I might replace this wavy edge. This was like 4 years ago. Well, about 5 years ago now when I did that. Anyway, so now we can see how disgusting this really is. Definitely learned a lot doing this build. Be taking the rockers off when I do the floor next time I build another crew cab. But that way I can get to the middle of the B-pillar. Anyway, you know, all the pieces that really mattered, like these bolt holes and all that, was halfway sound. So I'm going to cut all this out. I'm going to form a new one. On the other side, I just made a square that went down and it tapered in, and then it had flanges to come off and meet up with these holes, and then I welded brand new nuts on them. So these were where C60 steps were mounted on factory trucks. But yeah, we got it braced, at least the B-pillar. That's what matters. The rest of this ain't gonna move. So anyway, I'm gonna charge my phone because it's about dead. Next thing you're gonna see is this cut out, and all this is gonna be wire wheeled, and I'll probably have this one cut out. I think I'm gonna replace this whole thing. On the other side, I just replaced small areas that had these little pinholes in them. But you know what? I got 2 of these things. I might as well just replace both of these at the same time. This was from my air hammer. I didn't use that on the other side. I drilled a whole bunch of spot welds, and this was so much faster. Honestly, you can see here, like, there's 5 spot welds here that were connected. And then forward of this, none of them were connected at the bottom. So that wasn't good either. We got a little bit of damage here. I just took a screwdriver and stabbed this. It's relatively solid. I'm halfway considering just cutting this out and patching it because I don't have one of these little dog leg things. And honestly, it's solid enough that I can just patch it. There's a little bit right here in the cab mount, but it's nothing major. Yeah, it's just that little bitty hole on the cab mount. So it's nothing major enough that I'm going to cut out the whole cab mount and replace it. So be a good time to have a needle scaler and knock all this crap out of here. It's another thing I need to buy. Also, this cab corner, it looks to me like these spot welds are detached because when I was prying on this whole thing was flexing in through here. I wasn't really planning on replacing this cab corner. So what I maybe might do is just drill some new holes through here after I wire wheel the piss out of this thing and weld this area back and maybe just replace the very bottom of this because there's nothing visible there. Actually, I'll sand it, make sure there's no Bondo in it. And then from there, we'll go from there. But I got to pull this bed off soon anyway, so I guess that'll be the next thing if I got to do the cab corner. Can you tell I've been having a lot of fun? We're filthy now. So is the floor. The whole garage is a dust cloud. Let's show you what I did here. All right, so start here at the beginning. I cut out this section and ripped it out, and it just pulled the cab mount out with it because apparently it was pretty deteriorated in there. Opened up these little things. I'll just bend them back, and I wire wheeled in there and then took the air blower thing and shot them out. That is a lug for a C60 step. So what I'm going to do here, I got one of these sitting here, cab mount. Looks like it's going to need drilled. So I'm going to cut out a section of it, place it up here, cut it out, bond it in, and what I'm going to do is make a copy of this with brand new sheet metal, and then I'll know where my holes are going to be on the brand new piece. And I'll stick it up there, weld it in, drill the holes, and then this area is going to be done. I think I'm going to reuse this. This is solid. The only problem is these little holes, so I will patch these. I'll just put a section of this thing in here to patch just this area where it's kind of pitted and where these little holes are. But the rest of this is solid. The main reason that I want to reuse this instead of using this thing is because these are shorter than factory. And I hope that does not cause me a problem. I've already put the rocker up there and made sure that it fits. So all I got to do now is weld it in. I'm going to cut this out right there and then just weld it to this. I'm not going to use this hole because eventually this will have a square piece over it. I got my 2 pieces made for the floor here to fill in this gap. This one, I got 2 magnets holding it in. I don't have any more magnets, so this one's not being held in right now. But those are done. I got my nuts in right there, miscut. But anyway, got the nuts in right there. Push this body up so that way it's centered in these holes because this sagged just a hair bit. So I'm going to weld these in, weld all this together. This does not have any Bondo in it, so I'm not going to replace that. I did clean it out. I'll clean it out even better. And then once I get all this put together, I'm going to go over this with a coat of Master Coat. And I did the other side the same way, except back then I had Pour 15. So make that thing, it'll go over that. Actually, I think I'm going to Master Coat all this stuff in here. And, you know, just to be 100% here. So this pillar, obviously I braced it before I did all this. You can see there. But the way I have this pillar made, this is like an 1/8 inch piece. This came off that C60 dump bed, so it's a pretty solid piece of steel. And, you know, it was like a 2x4 kind of shape. And then some of it is up there, and then I just contoured it around the inside of this pillar. And so it's welded to the floor there. And then there's also these 2 plates that are 18 gauge, 2 of those. Looks like one of them ends right there at the floor, and then the other one goes up the floor a little bit. This would have been solid regardless. What I'm going to do now, you guys can watch me cut this out. All right, here we are. We got this piece. So this is fabbed back in. This is new metal here. Fold this back down. Holes line up. Let's see, where's this thing at? All right, so I put new 3/8 by 16 nuts on the back of this, and it goes just like that. And that's what I used to hold this in place while I welded this. Now, I got the cab mount here. Some of these angles got to be bent just a little bit, including the top. So now I know relatively where it needs to be. I'm going to bend it up a little bit so it lines up better back here. And then I'm going to put some holes in it. These middle holes were just for welds from the factory, it seems to me like. And then the top 2 and the bottom 2 were for the bolts. These 2 bolts go in that way, and these 2 bolts back here go in from the other side. So once I get all this put together, I'll be welding more nuts right there. Actually, I think that dog leg thing goes back on here first. I don't even know what I've done with that, but I still got to repair it. We're out here 6:30 the next morning. Let me show you what I got done last night. First off, I cleaned up this holy disaster that was in here, and that was the biggest thing. But I welded this end. So this is in there now. I got to go down the side here, cut off this edge, and join it with this piece, same thing right there. I'm going to cut it off with that, and then this will be gone from there over. I got this dog leg thing made. So this was like 84 bucks on eBay, I think, and like 36 bucks from, not JC Whitney, the other one, LMC. So anyway, either way, it would take like a week to ship here, so I just figured I'd make one. So it's bolted in, it's tack welded in a few spots. I got the cab mount back here. I'm gonna have to beat the piss out of it because it does not want to line up. But before I do all that, I gotta make sure my rockers line up. Somebody out there is probably like, oh my God, you should have used a jig. Well, you're right. I definitely should have used a jig here. But it's gonna work out. I promise. So, what I'm about to do now, I just marked this piece here. I'm gonna cut this thing. You can see about a 1/2 inch there. I'm gonna try to do straighter than that line is, but I'm gonna take the center section out of that and just patch this area from this little drain all the way over to this drain and get rid of these rust holes. And then after that, cut this, grind that, cut that one at the same time. Oh, I gotta cut this little drain here too. So I'll cut this and beat it with a hammer so it lines up with this pocket here on the cab. So yeah. All right, here we go. We're about to form this thing.
So you need a bend right here.
All right, there we have it. There's our general shape, and we'll trim it up once we get it here in metal. All right, I made this thing slightly bigger than my cutout here. All right, now we're somewhere. All right, we got a pretty general shape now. Now back to the truck. I just ground down all this mess that I made whenever I was patching the floor, which you can't even really see that one because it's under the rocker. That's good. And then this one, so that's done. Ground both sides, top and bottom. I'm not super worried about making it look super pretty because it will have carpet over it. I still got to finish this thing up, and I still got to finish the front one. But right now I'm test fitting to make sure that these are going to work the way I have them back here. I got to trim out a little bitty section there. You can kind of tell it's hitting the rocker. And then this one, I'm going to have to cut right up along the straight edge and notch out some of this area back in here so it fits that. On the other side, when I did this, basically did the same thing, but I did not put this angle. It's just a square all the way down. So we'll see if that even helped. So here we are this next morning. I tacked this rocker panel on just so I can put the door on and see if it looks like it fits. It is like a hair low back here. The door seems to be square, so I'll have to figure all that out. I still have to get under the rockers and do rust prep. Same thing on the inside of the rockers. So the floor and the inside of the rockers. I got to finish welding that bottom of the pillar thing on. Basically, this is just a test fit. Trimmed it where it needs done, drilled holes. So the holes in the rockers have little spots in the cab now where the spot welds are going to be, the little bare metal patches. So check this out. This came in the mail yesterday. My new radio. So it is a little bit smaller than I was hoping. These vents came from Summit the day before, but I think we can make this work, honestly. It's a hair bit small, but, well, smaller than what I had envisioned when I drew this. Then we got the one over here. Not sure what to do with these areas because these were vents on the 4th gen. I don't want to put the rectangular vents in here, even though I do have them. I don't think that'll look period correct. So I'm halfway thinking about taking like a Chevelle or an Impala, whichever one they come out of, the under vent dash, like it's round right there, and it might fill in that hole pretty well, maybe. The other choice I have is to take a piece of metal and bend it. It'll be a hair past 90 degrees and bolt it to that and then make it come down and flush with the face of this thing. And then my center console thing here, I got my cup holders ordered my cursive Chevrolet emblem. I know that's not what the factory one on these trucks looks like, but I like the cursive one better, so. And then maybe a bow tie right here in the center. I was thinking like a 67 through 72 bow tie, one of the blue ones with the lines in it. So I think these big circles here were supposed to be my outlets. I think those are gonna come pretty close to lining up where they were supposed to. Like, we're gonna have a low center console that comes off the front of this, because we gotta take that into account too. I didn't have that into account in this drawing. So we'll do that when we get our cup holders in. And then these 3 switches are my vintage air controls. Right now, it's gonna be this, because that actually controls this heater box that I put in here with the Dodge motor. But you can see the vintage air ones are quite a bit smaller. There's my big gaping hole that I never patched. Somebody had like a giant 60s radio in here when I first got this truck, and I just left it. For these lines here, what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I got an extra glove box door. I think I got 2 of them actually. So yeah, there's the one out of the red truck over there on the shelf. And then this is the dash out of this black truck here. It is creased up on that side where it was in a wreck. But anyway, I got the glove box door from it. It's got stickers from Beatersville 2014 and 15. Anyway, I can take that glove box and this body line right here. And I was thinking about using that to integrate in. You can kind of see it's got like a little wave in it right there. Maybe it's this side. I don't know, it's hard to see. But also I want to use these lines too, this body line. So basically that's what these lines are. See, that one transitions off and goes down there. So I'll have the radio just a hair bit lower than it is. So that way there's a little bit of room between it and this upper. Because right there, I thought the radio was going to be bigger. I had it right up at the thing. Then this thing, well, it's behind there now. But it's the trailer brake controls and the exhaust brake stuff that comes factory on the 4th gen. It's stuffed in behind that. And basically I have this, you know, the 4th gen dash just in there as it should be. And as long as I make it where it all transitions together and flows, I don't see what the issue would be. The main reason I did this with the 4th gen dash is because the keyhole is right there. It's below center on an actual 4th gen, and there's no room for it up here. So once the cover's on and all this is put together, it's right where it's supposed to be. And then I also get a glove box over here, and it holds all this stuff together down there. And I liked how that worked out. So here we are. Cab mount. That's welded back in. Dog leg, she's fixed. Ground off all the welds. There was a cut here and a cut there. So all that's done. All this is wire wheeled. This is repaired. I got this off right now. I took a tap to all of these nuts. This one, those 2, and the ones up there. So there's that thing. We're gonna do the seal coat back side of this thing, under that, stick it back on, bolt it, weld it, and inside the cab corner, I wire wheeled that out. There was just like a tiny pinhole, and I welded it shut, and it was, the metal was thick enough that it held that weld, so I'm not really worried about that. Of course, it will have that in there and all the way up as far as I can get. Same thing under here. Patch is done, ground down reasonably. It's under the truck, it's not that big of a deal. Everything's patched in over here. Had to cut out, I don't know if I've made a video of this, but I cut right there and pounded this body mount back so that way I have access for these bolts when they go in. All right, so when I do this, obviously I'm doing the rockers, that's the main thing, but what I'm also gonna do is do the insides of this. So these lips back here, the inner lip, same thing for the actual fleet side bed. Take all this crap out, do under that, you know, on those, because that's an area that has more wear because it's got that thing on it. Also gonna do the seam all the way around. And do this inner lip there. Same thing on the other side. So we have a whole lot of cleaning and sealing to do. Been hard at it for the last few hours. These are painted on the inside. All this stuff's painted. I bolted that back on after I painted both sides. So there's spooge all on both sides of it. Same thing with this. That's gonna get bolted on here in a minute. Cab corner was good, so he didn't replace it, but there's a lot of this goop down in there. The bottom of this is done. Same thing right here. Went through, did the inner fenders. And this area where it could collect crap, you know, just up in there, both sides. Oh yeah, I took this fender back off. That brand new metal that I had over here. Fenders are over here, they got done. So all the rust areas, basically. I didn't go around this lip right there, but that'll be fine. My plan is to pressure wash this thing here soon and get all this dirt and crap out of here. And same thing with the frame, because the frame is disgusting. Covered in all this dust and debris from doing this project. So now, what I'm gonna do is bolt all my supports back here, bolt this centerpiece on, and hopefully by the end of the tonight, I can at least have these tacked in. Well, we look like a truck again. I still got to adjust the doors. Neither one of them close perfectly, but this is just trial to make sure the rockers look good. So they line up with the fender. This door's got a little bit of a wave in it. It's like pushed in the middle. So plus that's not, it's just a hair lower. Something about these blue doors, you can see right there, they're just a hair shorter than these black truck doors, and they've always been that way for whatever reason. Honestly, I think these are good. I think I can weld them the rest of the way in because I've only welded just enough for it to hold together. So I gotta mess with the edges of my door just a little bit. I never did make them form perfectly after I put these patches in last week. So you can see they ain't exactly perfect. You can see right there, this door, I didn't have to do anything to, and this one, I'll have to just form it a little. But yeah, slowly but surely, we're getting there. Looks good now. We got rockers welded in. All the stuff is ground off of it. I sanded all this little area. It's looking pretty all right. All right, on to the next project. So this thing, I cut some of it out of there one day just to get it straight with the door. But I don't know. I got these two laying over there. I don't think this one's going to work, but this one may work. I'm going to get it cleaned up and maybe put it in here or repair this one or make a brand new one. Whatever we're going to have to do here to make this work properly. And then we got this thing. I'm thinking I might just pull this off. You can see, like, there's the spot weld, and then, you know, it's got crap all in behind it, and it's, like, swelling up. I think now would be a really good time to just drill out these spot welds, clean all this up, wire wheel it, put some spooge in behind it, and put it back together. Maybe make a brand new piece. This would be, like, the easiest piece ever to make. Just cut it and bend it. So, we'll see, I guess. See how bad it looks on the other side. And then the other thing I got to do, it looks like, is cover this hole up. This never got fully repaired when I built this pillar, so I got to do that there. Also, I cut a chunk out of this one. Same on the other side. Whenever I put these bear claw latches in here, because I needed that to get access to that nut back there. So, not fully sure how I'm going to fill this in where I'm still able to get access to this nut. I didn't really want to weld it because I may just weld it because this is the same as the factory. You know, it's got up and down movement to adjust it. But then this also had a little bit of adjustment in it. So that was my hold up on welding it. But yeah, under here, nice and pretty. Got some soot looking crap, but already cleaned that off with some chemical. So it is ready for primer down here. So we'll do that here shortly. All right, new pillar made. I haven't even welded it in yet, but I took this thing out and it is disgusting. So that was a good thing that I did that. Got a new one made. About to take a grinder and a wire wheel to that. Then we should be good to go back on. So here's some progress from yesterday. I machined my 3-inch spacers, so they are on there now. We got an extra 1 inch hanging out of the fender here. I think that's how this was supposed to look. That's the look I was going for, at least. And then, since I'm out of the garage, I got those two connected to this battery here because I still haven't tapped them into the truck wiring harness. I still got to put these on the other side too. Moving on up. Doors, rockers, door gaps, looking pretty good. I don't even have that thing bolted on. It's got 1 bolt in it. Also, let's see this thing. That's brand new. I put spooge under it before I welded it in. So that looks pretty good. This is a filthy disaster. Oh yeah, look at the hood. Look how dusty this thing is. So, it's the first time she's been out of the garage in a while. Been in surgery this whole time. I still have to finish welding this in, then I gotta grind it. And then this pillar will be done. While I got this thing like halfway tore apart, I think it'd be a good time to just go ahead and get my plan together for getting some paint on this. Yeah, we got an absolute disaster going on. Oh yeah, I still haven't done this yet. I'll have to get to that here today. This being a dually, I was thinking that it needs some mud flaps. And I was wanting to go with the formed ones, like obviously ones off a modern truck that are formed to fit, like a Duramax or a Cummins or whatever, whichever body style. They may not bolt right up to this. So I was like, what if I make some period correct ones? Now, these aren't plastic, obviously, and I've already cut hunks out of them. So I'll just cut the rest of this out. I was basically thinking something like that. Another random idea that I had last night, sitting here looking at this thing. I have an extra hood. I could make a Cal induction hood. So we'll see what happens. Now this thing, I definitely like it. I'll have to mess with it so that way it looks better right here. But from the back, it looks really good. Especially when the exhaust is covering the part that's missing. I think I'm gonna mess with this some more. Try to make it look a little better. We are way later in the day. I made this thing. So what I'm about to do next, now that this is like partially together, is I'm going to cut out around this thing and then lean the mounting plate backwards. So that way this thing is flush with the top of it. And then we're going to make the little wedges to weld this to the angled back piece. And then once this is exactly where we want it, we're going to mount this so that way we don't mess it up right now. And I'm thinking right here, because this is such big, ugly, open space, what I'm going to do is take this area and put there, and opposite on that side. And I don't really want to cut that thing up, but it's out of that red truck, so it's not that big of a deal to me. I wish I took the whole dash out of the red truck. If nothing else, I can cut up the dash that I have left over from the black truck. So here we go, cutting stuff up. All right, so here is some end of the night updates. We got this thing halfway set up. But I think I'm gonna cut up another dash and use this line right there. You know, right, going that way. Because I did have these up there, but they're just not thick enough, it doesn't seem like. But yeah, we got a sound system in this truck now. I can't play any music because then I will get copyright infringement. But on the tweeters in the front, I put 2 more 6x9s in, and I got to figure out all this stuff still. So, honestly, it sounds pretty all right. But I think this is my stopping point for this week. This thing's like kind of halfway made and mocked up. I got an absolute disaster in this truck. Everything is filthy dusty from doing these rockers this week. So we got rockers on, door gaps all lined up. What else did I do? I got my 3-inch spacers on back here, the dually adapters finally. So we look a little better. Actually, we look a whole lot better. Interior halfway done. So yeah, next week's video is going to be the interior. We're going to finish up in here. And then once we get that done, we're going to get ready to start painting stuff. I never did finish the mud flat project. We'll do something else with these, I think, because these only go to that far. And then if I just put 18 gauge flat steel the rest of the way, it's going to look kind of goofy. So I think I just need to put rubber ones back there. But this idea definitely looks cool. It has to have mud flaps now. Like, it looks too good not to have them. So, but I think actual rubber ones, or if I can find some plastic ones that fit, like plastic like the new trucks have, like where they're formed and they have a shape. But that's all for this week. So we will see you all next week.